Very impressive, Professor Magri, because I have a slight different opinion on some points. But first of all, many thanks, Mr. Brancini, and also Angelo Carriere from Oberon Media to invite us today. And I have to say, I'm 17 years in Russia, being German, West German, and über alles. And I have to say, I have... Hopefully tonight. Absolutely, yeah. Tonight, yes, well, of course, of course. And I have to say, we have, at the moment, I have 4 sort of functions, because I'm representing an investor, Axel Springer, since 10 years on the Russian market. I'm also a publisher of the last free press, which is also not an easy job. Tomorrow, we are commemorating the killing of our first editor-in-chief, Paul Khlebnikov, who was shot in front of our office on the 9th of July, 2004, American citizen. And I'm also representing, since '96, I'm a founding member of the German Chamber of Commerce in Russia. And I'm on the board, and of course, we German investors are in the same boat as the Italians at the moment, so I would like to jump a little bit earlier what we've discussed last week and will publish. We are the biggest investors in Russia, and we decided, and importers, the trade balance is quite clear, and we've decided that we separate each other a little bit more from the political crisis, because we don't want to have an economic war. The worries of the Russian government of the third sanctions coming, because I've organized a meeting with the speaker of Mr. Putin, Dmitry Peskov, on Friday, a background meeting for German and my Russian 2 editors-in-chief. The Russians are extremely worried about the sanctions because it will ruin and run down the country completely, but they are tough, and they said, we will survive. But the feeling of the sanctions, of the first and second sanctions, are now already visible for us, and all of you, all of us, because Forbes is a high-end luxury branded product. So therefore, we will issue next week a position paper and address it to Mr. Putin and Mrs. Merkel. We don't want to have an economic war, which is going to ruin your business, our business, all of our business, and our future. The point what we've lost, and I think this is more a sort of emotional point, we lost trust in each other. We don't know how to trust Mr. Putin. I think he understands over the last couple of 2 weeks that he was pushing too far. Of course, he will never admit. And by the way, you said he's getting older. No, he's getting younger and younger. He's not consulting with anybody at the moment. He's not even like 10 years ago when he was listening to advisors. He's emotionally deciding, and Crimea was an emotional decision, and that's it. But I totally disagree that we don't have a middle class, and now we come to your figure, 50% less shoppers in Milano. Your shoppers are families and people working for the government. They got a received order from the administration to go low-key in March. They got an order to take away their children after summer from the British boarding schools, because if the third sanctions come, they want to be prepared. So everybody is now low-key, no shopping trips, no offensive jewelry showing on parties, no public interviews, just down under. That's why they do not come to Milan or Paris. That's why they do not shop in Berlin. That's why they just stay on the dacha. It's back to normal country life. If it comes to holidays, the governmental officials, and we're talking here about millions, and that's the middle class, by the way, the bourgeois, they received an order to go to Crimea or Sochi on holidays. So you will see a season which will be a disaster. Only these sort of normal, ordinary people who come on charter races to Spain and Italy on the low end, or low end for us is already high end in Russia, they will come. They got strict orders not to show up. And we are talking here about also not buying cars, but Alexander later will explain. Russians click very, very funny. When a crisis comes, they spend money on the last minute. 25 Bentleys sold in January. Volkswagen is extremely happy, more than they've ever even planned for 2014. Knauf, Gibbs, very, very normal product, not luxury, not high-end, made 48% over budget in March and April. People buy stuff for reconstruction, put it in the garage and think, okay, I will do the renovation a little bit later, but I bought it. We had very shaky ruble exchange rate, which of course, first of all, was ruining my business. We are printing in Poland for euros for all products, but we also, of course, had people, and Russians are very, very sensitive to this. Is a banking crisis coming? Central bank was erasing banks. I would say every week we lost one bank license over the last 8-9 weeks. So they're taking out the players which are foul on the market, money laundering, undercapitalized, and of course this makes people nervous. That's why they sort of keep more cash and do not spend. This sort of last spend minutes, and we see now the figures from Mercedes, Volkswagen on the low segment, and Hyundai, Seat, just to take the automobile sector, the crisis now starts. Now, this moment, in sort of consumption. In the medium mass market, Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, they're also now, June, July, only feeling the effects. The outlook, and here we come to the luxury market, if the third sanctions are coming, frankly speaking, I'm giving up in this country, because then we will have an isolation like Iran. The political efforts at the moment about and around Ukraine, I think that's my personal opinion. European Union made mistakes, Russia made mistakes, the United States make mistakes, and we have to try in business just to keep out of this, because otherwise we will not survive at all. The political crisis, of course, and the losing of trust in the future, that worries me, because we had a very great sort of business behavior. And here I come to something which I think is for the future important for you, the dysfunctionality of the Russian luxury distributional market. We all know with whom you're working, and we all know that sometimes it's better to look after your own brand. My personal recommendation, look after your own brand. Don't give it to hands of people who are sort of not emotionally living your brands. Your brands are luxury, they're full of emotions, so I think I would take it also in recessional times in my hands and do it myself with talented Russian staff, but not with the big distributors any longer, because the marketing efforts are zero, and we can see it on our end. Of course, advertising is going down now 50%. I don't know what to write in my budget. I have to give in a budget in September, and frankly speaking, the outlook is, we call it recession. I totally agree, the oil price, of course, is dominating. On the other hand, the state reserves are still there. Crimea is a very expensive hobby, and pension systems are not existing, and so therefore Russia is going in a big, big, big crisis. However, having said, the middle class will come back, or the bourgeoisie, they will come back. They will come out of their little holes, they will come back from the dacha. Russians love to consume, you know it much better than I do. And I think if we now start talking again on a political level, and I hope, and I totally agree, Armando, that you said this political crisis will go over, we need now trust, but we need to separate from politics, because otherwise we are all in the same boat, and I'm very unhappy that I love the country. It's an up and down country, but this is a very unhappy situation. Mr. Putin, of course, is also not a very smart person for resisting here. The media market, and that is also important for you, what's happening on the media market, where you find your clients, where you advertise your brands, and what is our industry. The media market, I said it already, is the brand management for luxury goods is weak. I think there could be done much more improvement in tough times. Sometimes you have to be more creative. You have to look for different ways. But we have also a situation on the media market that we have now clusters which are sort of not reflecting the possibility of such a big country. We have a dysfunctional distributional system. We have logistics. I have to distribute from Moscow or from Kaliningrad to Vladivostok, and I have to bring all the journals also back. So here, of course, I think you should also take your teams and think a little bit more creative on online or others, or direct marketing. All over, I'm still believing in Russia. If third sanctions are coming, I'm getting extremely worried. I think still the danger is not over. I think it's now important, and Alexander will tell, we have now 2 correspondents, or 1 correspondent in Ukraine in the fighting area. he has to give me in the morning, in the evening, at lunch, whatever, SMS to sell he's still alive. But the situation in Ukraine is, of course, a disaster, and I think there will be no quick solution, and trust is now very important.
Thank you very much.
And I will answer more questions later. And read about Forbes Russia, what we've done. 10 years on the market, we are #1. And of course, it's only high-end luxury brand management. Russians read when you say no, they love it, then they buy it.
Thank you.